To the people of the United States of America. Unfortunately, in your stocking's not going to be something you probably hope for. I don't think it's going to be a lump of coal. It's $1.7 trillion that we don't have. $1.7 trillion, 4,155 pages plus, I don't know, a couple thousand pages of what's called report language that barely any of us had an opportunity to read, right? Released in the what? Was it last night, Chip?
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning, night before last.
The shortest day of the year,
yeah.
The darkest day of the year, and now we're voting on it without, let's face it, the things we do know, let's talk about some of the things we know that are in it. We already know, as a gentleman from Texas told us, that we're prohibited. Your tax dollars, the dollars your federal government is spending, is prohibited from stopping people coming across the border illegally. Prohibited to be used for that. Here's what can be used. $400 million for the border security of Jordan, Lebanon, Tunisia, Egypt, and Oman. You think about that. Right now, while Title 42 is on the verge of going away, we literally have they're estimating 18,000 people per day coming across the border illegally. We're going to spend $400 million in the Middle East to secure their borders, and we're going to say to the United States of America, you can't spend any tax dollars to defend your own border. That passed in the U.S. Senate today. $140 million on carbon dioxide removal technologies, $540 million on energy storage, because the preferred sources of energy by my friends on that side of the aisle don't work. So we need that. $220 million on solar energy. I thought solar energy came of age and was supportive of itself without subsidy. $380 million for alternative modes of transport, because, ladies and gentlemen of America, my friends on the other side of the aisle actually don't want you to drive a car or own a car. And if you do have the temerity to think you're going to go somewhere in your own car, it better be an electric vehicle that you're going to plug in and charge when they allow you to charge it. We need $380 million for that. I was at the grocery store a couple days ago with my family. My wife, our girls were there, having a conversation about what we're going to buy for Christmas for the in-laws and family coming over. And a lady was listening to the conversation, Chip, and she said, I am not paying $5 for a dozen eggs. I'm not paying $5 for a dozen eggs. I don't see anything. I didn't see one darn thing in this bill that's going to solve that lady's problem, whether it's gas prices. Right now, the temperature's dropping all across the United States of America, and people are going to have to pay for the electricity, the heating oil, the propane, the natural gas, something to heat their homes. And they're going to be paying a lot. And there's nothing in here for that, but I'll tell you what is in here, $1.3 million in an earmark for water storage tanks just outside of Washington, D.C., the wealthiest counties in the United States of America right here, but we've got an earmark for them because they need a water storage tank. How about $1.5 million for the Pasadena on-street dining project? $1.5 million for a student garden in Sacramento. I'm not saying that these projects aren't worthy of discussion for somebody. If you live in Pasadena and you want on-street dining, God bless you. It's probably important to you. You tell me, Mr. Roy, when our country's at $31.4 trillion in debt and careening headlong into 32, how in the world is that a federal project? Why do the people in Pennsylvania who would love to go to Pasadena, we'd love to see our team in the Rose Bowl. That's on our team.
I said there's a joke in there somewhere.
That's on our team. I get that. But how is it the people of Pennsylvania or Texas or Maine or anywhere across the country's job, why is it their responsibility to pay for that? I don't get it. $2 million for programs promoting career pathways into government service, because goodness knows there's not enough people in government service. We need to find a way to get them into it. How about $50 million in endowment fund at the University of Alabama? Let's not stop there. How about $10 million for an institute on public service and leadership at the University of Alabama.
Hey, wait a minute. Does the gentleman have any ideas about why Alabama might be receiving so many of these earmarks?
Well, the retiring Senate chief appropriator, Senator Shelby, happens to come from Alabama. And I got nothing bad to say about Alabama. I spent a fair amount of time down there. I love Alabama. Here again, I don't know why Pennsylvanians, Texans, North Dakotans, Californians, whoever, have to pay for this. What is the federal nexus to this spending of money that we don't have? And I'm going to turn it back over to my friend here in a minute. And we can just go back and forth because I got plenty here. I know he does too. How about $4 million for a Bahamian Museum of Arts and Culture, Florida? $1.4 million to restore an outdoor amphitheater in California. $1.7 million for an urban agriculture garden in California. Look, the list just, we're going to get into it. But people, when are we going to start asking ourselves whose responsibility this is? And when are we going to start asking ourselves, is this ever going to change? We haven't had the process here where the Senate and the House passed its own budget, its own appropriations bills, conferenced them, worked out their differences, and then had a vote on that. That process that I just described, how our government was set up to spend your money, that hasn't happened since 1996. It's 2022. What is it going to take for us to finally say, man, we've had enough. I call uncle. I can't take anymore, and change this place? I would submit to you that the leadership that has allowed this to continue, and not only allowed it to continue, to ensure that it has continued, is derelict, is irresponsible, and is accountable to this tragic, epic, enormous failure. This is a failure, and there's got to be an accounting for it. And just because it's hours and days before Christmas, and it's real cold outside, and we got worries about our children's schooling, being able to pay the bills, grocery bills, fuel bills, electric bills, don't think that we as the American people don't see what's happening here. We see it, and we see who's doing it, and we're not going to tolerate it.